Microphone number 4.
Yes, Brenda Butler, Presbyterian of Pictou. Moderator, I'm going to give a brief history. I put my name forth 5 years ago for Assembly Council. COVID happened, and guess what? I got picked. Anyway, my interest was mainly to find out what was going on in the church, but more importantly, I was very concerned with what was happening within our churches across the country. Especially, I knew within my own congregation, within our own presbytery. And it was my concern for the decline in our congregations. People are tired, they're becoming apathetic, they're constantly working to maintain buildings to the point that we are worshiping buildings and not worshiping Christ and doing our mission work within our communities. We're not listening to what Jesus has instructed us to do. Just about at the end of my third year, first term, Victor started talking about his narrative of hope and possibility and a working group. And as that came to fruition, I made it very clear that I was very interested in being a part of this working group. And when we started working together, we did have some trouble trying to find a starting point, but we got there.
I do not want to cut you off, Brenda.
Okay, anyway, what I want to say is we do not have time to wait and defer. We need to move forward. If the Presbyterian Church in Canada is to remain a Christian witness in this country, towards the world, then we have to act now. Okay. We need to move forward. If not, it's an insult to our ancestors who worked so hard to build up our Christian church. So therefore, I speak against the current motion.
So, thank you. And I know that if can be really expanded out. If there's a sense of urgency or we got time to wait, that would be, so again, keeping the if, when, and where as limited as possible on the motion to refer. We're now at microphone 3.
Yeah, so I would like to speak against the motion to refer. Heather Bryant from the Presbytery of Calgary-McLeod. I was able to say that without reading my presbytery, so I think that's something, but sorry for forgetting. I just want to say there is some evidence. It's not just a general feeling of malaise. Between 2013 and 2023, according to the statistics in the Acts and Proceedings, we lost 31% of our members and 24% of the children in Sunday school. In terms of leadership, we lost 31% of our elders, and ministers are doing better. They're only lost 5.7% of them, so congratulations for hanging in there. We're definitely in decline. The good news is that the money for congregational purposes from this lower number of people stayed fairly steady. But the biggest drop we've had is for money to Presbyterian sharing, to preserve the Presbyterian Church in Canada. We don't have time. We don't have time to say, we've been dying for this length of time, your oxygen level, patient, has been going down, you'll probably last a few more days. We'd want our doctor to try something different, and it's time for us to try something different.
I know the if can really give us lots of latitude, but we'll try and keep the if in terms of urgency, or we can wait, or something along the if, but we need to narrow so we're not getting into the weeds of a debate about the overall report, whether we just need to do it now or not. So I believe we're now at Back at microphone number 3.
Thank you, Moderator. Matthew Sams, East Toronto, speaking against the motion to refer. And to be more direct, I wonder if the convener of the working group could briefly address the history of the number of reports that have been referred back regarding this.
Moderator, the court will need to be able to hear from Reverend Dr. Jean Morris, so you need to give that approval before she can speak to the Assembly.
So we'll need a motion for Jean to speak and correspond. Just say your name in the mic.
Linda Patton Cowie, Presbyterian of Barrie.
And a seconder.
Art Fotheringham, Presbyterian of Bechtel.
Thank you. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? That motion is adopted.
Thank you, Moderator. So we thought about all of this, and we discussed this with the Assembly Council as well. One of the motivations was the number of reports that have been presented to the Assembly over a number of years that contained material and recommendations that related to a number of items that are in our report, Moderator, things like lay training, even models of ministry, certainly Christian formation, the priesthood of all believers, and we were and structure and polity, and we were struck by how much of that work either got shelved and some because the church needed to attend to other extremely important matters. Totally get that. But there was quite a number of reports and matters that the Assembly had seen, had considered, had voted on, and it just didn't move forward. And so that is one of the reasons why this recommendation for a commission that has the authority of the Assembly to move quickly with terms of reference approved by the Assembly, which will say what's in their purview and scope and what is not. We hoped that would give assurance. And then the skills matrix that we have developed to be sure that we get the right people doing the right job quickly so that the work can begin. Moderator, I think that answers the question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We are moving to microphone number 4.
Moderator Andy Cornell, Presbyterian of Essex, Kent. I agree that change is badly needed, and the word urgency has been coming up a lot at this Assembly, absolutely, but let's do this right. So speaking very strongly in favor of this motion to refer, this report and the preferred future may be problematic in some people's points of view. The bottom line is that we're talking about generational change, vast change. I don't believe enough time or consultation has been done. I appreciate 23 people on the committee, diverse consultations across the nation, but I don't believe a single assembly, even with that, it has enough authority and experience to authorize a commission with this magnitude of responsibility. So I'm not asking that this be dismissed by any means. Work has been done, good work. But let's send it back to our lower courts for several months of consideration, not just making a decision here based on commissioners reading a report and considering it for a couple of weeks. So very strongly in favor of sending this back to our lower courts. Rather than 11 workshops, 776 congregations, 45 presbyteries, and 8 synods. That is real consultation, Moderator.
Microphone number 5. Sorry, number 1, fifth speaker.
Joseph Whiteside, Presbytery, Westminster. I speak strongly opposed to the referral. I believe that enough work has been done over many years to try and put together a document like this. I believe in the sincerity of the people who contributed to it. I think at times an assembly like this has to show confidence in itself, in its congregations, in its protocols and procedures, and I strongly oppose the referral. Thank you.
Microphone number 3.
Linda Patton Cowie, Presbytery of Barrie. I also strongly oppose this motion to refer. As Jean Morris said on our first day, we have options, and we have probable options, and we have preferred options. And it seems to me that referring this is only delaying the inevitable, that more decline will happen in the interim, and we need to take action and have confidence in ourselves now. Thank you.
Microphone number 1.
I believe he might have been before me, the gentleman at 4.
I keep putting down numbers. As soon as I see it at the mic,
I'm happy to speak. Moderator Jeff Frost from Brampton. In the spirit of Matthew 14:29 to 31, we are being invited to come, to get out of the boat, to walk with hope. The if, in my mind, is clearly defined to not pass this motion. Presbyteries are across the country, from the people I've talked to, are all on their own, trying in a haphazard, desperate way to come up with ideas as to how to solve their problem independently. We are a connectional church. One of the advantages of being a connectional church is we had, in this report, in this team, asked them years ago to do this work, to bring to us. We represent the congregations, the presbyteries, and the synods in this room. This report is telling us that we can do this with hope. So I vote against the motion.
Microphone number 2.
Barb Fotheringham, Presbytery of Pictou. I also speak against the motion to refer. We should have confidence in the people on the Assembly Council. They represent our country, as does the Special Working Group. I know some of them, and I know they're from across the country with different views, and I think that I trust committees. I trust the work that the people we've selected, and I trust that they will move forward in the same manner.
Microphone number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Paul Johnston from the Presbytery of Lanark and Renfrew, and bring a couple of different perspectives to this. Over the years, I have taken my position on Assembly Council very seriously and have faithfully reported to my presbytery as this report was developing, and shared with them some of the ideas that were coming there about consolidating personnel, IT, property purposes. Strangely enough, nobody in our presbytery said, yes, we want this stuff all centralized in national offices. I fed that back, but they considered to think we still need this national leadership. I guess I ask you, friends of the commissioners here, our authority in the General Assembly is ministerial and declarative. We are not a legislature telling the church what to do. We are people discerning the will of Christ and offering something for the church to say, do you hear the voice of Christ in the decisions that we have made? Traditionally, when we can contemplate changes in policy, like we did earlier in this assembly, we heard the report from the clerks of assembly about having ruling elders as interim moderators. The process we followed was the clerks designed tentative legislation. We sent it to the presbyteries for study and comment. Many presbyteries, including Lanark and Renfrew, studied, commented, gave feedback. The clerks adapted the thing based on that feedback and then brought it to us for action. That's the way we usually do this kind of thing. This is a change much larger than having interim ruling elders as interim moderators. It deserves the same kind of consideration, though, to send it to the presbyteries for their study and report. If this is intended to serve presbyteries, Let's give them a chance to say, yes, we want these regional things. Yes, we want these kinds of things. Before setting up a commission that will act with no accountability to do these things on its own motion, do you not think we owe the church as a whole the consideration to be able to hear them and listen to them broadly about what is before us here? To take this report to say, presbyteries, this is what's going on, this is what we're trying to do. It would give us a chance in Lanark and Renfrew, because we are working with this. We are confronting the fact that we have 6 full-time ministers handling 24 preaching points. And we have begun to talk about ways that we can support congregations where the gospel is being preached, where the sacraments are being celebrated, where people are growing in Christ. They're not big urban churches. They don't have multiple staff and, technical skills that a lot of other places have. But they're places where gospel work is being done, and we are finding ways to resource them and help them. And I'm afraid that these commissions will co-opt that work and bring what we're doing in Lanark and Renfrew to a screeching halt and force us to do some things that will be very painful for the members of our presbytery. And I think just a matter of courtesy and consideration for the church as a whole, send it to us and let us read it. Let us study it. Let us send it back. And then next year, in the ordinary process that we follow, we'll hear the comments, we'll get the proposal, we'll get a perfected report that does really listen to what the congregations have said. And so I ask you, please send it to the presbyteries, send it to the whole church, so we can hear what the Spirit is saying across our whole family of God. Thank you very much.
Microphone number 3.
Thank you, moderator. Ed Charlton from the Presbytery of Seaway Glengarry. I would speak in favor of the motion. 2 things that come to mind is consensus building and being able to hear the many voices, so that this narratives of hope and possibility will hopefully, once the presbyteries have seen it, dealt with it, if they see something that might be problematic, that things can move actually faster and with less roadblocks and things running in against us. So those are my views. Thank you very much, moderator.
Microphone number 4.
Pat Dutcher Walls, Westminster. You may not be surprised that I would suggest not supporting. I would not be supporting this motion to refer. The voices I heard in those 11 workshops some of them are desperate. And particularly because we just added the in collaboration with synods, et cetera, to the motion that was just on the floor before this. I think we've built in the collaboration that is actually desired. And I don't think there will be churches closing this year that might have had a chance if we moved more quickly. That's a prediction, who knows? But I think we do need to move. This is not the time for business as usual, if the truth be known, because there are churches that are desperate. And they need the leadership that I think the report as it stands can give them. And so I would suggest not supporting this motion to refer.
Microphone number 2.
Thank you, moderator. Nicole Reed from the Presbytery of Niagara. I speak against the motion to refer. I've led a non-traditional ministry for 7 years, which was in many ways always doing something new, something different. And over the course of those 7 years, I learned that you need to step out in faith to find God already there. We need to step out in faith. Thank you.
And we're back to microphone number 2 again.
Moderator Charlotte Adams, Presbytery of Montreal. I have a question for clarification. How can we refer the entire report of narratives and hope and possibility if we have already adopted the consent recommendations?
So, yes, so this was not part of the consent recommendations. These are held separately from the consent recommendation. So
Okay, thank you.
microphone number 1.
Moderator, Sandra Cameron Evans, the Presbytery of Calgary MacLeod. I speak against the motion to refer. As we've heard, if we don't start working towards this and following the call that Jesus is sending us, there will be a lot of congregations that won't just be able to not meet Presbyterian sharing, but they won't be able to meet so many of their own ministries and missions. This is something that we need to address.
We're on to microphone 3.
Moderator Susan Tompkins, Presbytery of Pickering. I will be voting against this motion to refer. Once again, I feel at risk of sounding like a broken record that we are these scared disciples in that upper room. Change is scary, no doubt. Nobody likes it. It's hard, it hurts, and sometimes it shakes us to our core. But friends, Jesus has shown up. Jesus has breathed and is breathing his peace upon us right now. We all acknowledge the church is struggling. I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's mind that that's what's happening. We are struggling. Let us now let Jesus send us. Thank you.
Microphone number 2.
My name is Sandra. I'm from the Presbytery of Pickering. And if I don't say this as a minister myself, I will regret this moment. Our church is in serious trouble. No one can question that. And I think all of us here are called to do what is right in the eyes of God. We are sent by God for people, so I think we should do the right thing. This is the right time to make some changes. And I don't doubt that each one of us here as ministers or elders, we know that our churches are in trouble. So I think this is the time to act now. So I speak in against for the motion to refer. Thank you.
And back with microphone number 2.
Moderator, hi, Fatani and Saliwa with the Presbytery of Northwest. I don't know if it's really suitable to do it now since no one else, but I'd like to call for an immediate vote.
So you're moving for an immediate vote?
Yes.
And do we have a seconder for the immediate vote?
May 4th, from the Presbytery of Waterloo,
Wellington?
Yes.
So we have a motion to go to an immediate vote, and I'm going to assume the Yaris would like to vote on the immediate vote. So an advisory vote, Yaris on immediate vote. All those in favor? And those who are opposed? You have been advised. Commissioners, on the motion to an immediate vote, all in favor? Contrary-minded? We're moving to an immediate vote. So we now have the motion to refer that is before you. Yaris, are you in favor of the motion to refer? Those are in favor. Those are opposed? Commissioners, you have been advised. Now, commissioners, all those in favor of the motion to refer? And those who are opposed? The motion to refer is defeated. We're back to the amended motion. So now the amended motion is before you, adjusting item number 10 of the terms of reference, and we are at microphone number 3.
Moderator Emily Bissett, Presbytery of East Toronto. I have an amendment seconded by Nick Gorham of the Presbytery of East Toronto that is in the system. It was for the original motion, so I think it will still work for the amended motion.
So the motion to amend is now before you, and it's substituting the word commission for committee. So on the motion to amend, did you want to speak further to that?
Yes, please, may I?
Number 3? Okay.
My amendment is meant to keep us moving forward. It's the recommendation for this special commission that makes me the most uncomfortable about this report. It seems like a fast tracking of important work that needs to be done well, just as much as it needs to be done quickly. And the special commission puts a lot of power in the hands of 10 very capable people with very honed skills, as the terms of reference lay out. But those people carry with them the responsibility to make large and significant change immediately, quickly, urgently, with the full and final authority of the General Assembly. Special commissions, in my understanding, are for more focused and particular business that's an extension of the General Assembly. But for rapid innovation and change across all aspects of the church, I worry about a commission. The terms of reference point to big ideas that don't have a lot of specifics. They're open-ended. They need to be shaped, as the convener has noted, and they raise as many questions as they answer, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not opposed to questions and possibilities at all. I think that a special committee can keep us moving forward, can bring back actionable, concrete items to the next assembly. It can take these ideas with the blessing of the assembly and put those specifics on them for us so we can see. Maybe it is pilot projects. Maybe it's some other form of action that we can see a little more clearly the outcomes so that the assembly can discern the mind of Christ while giving permission and blessing to a special committee with specific skills to move us forward. So I hope that it allows us to follow the vision that the narratives of hope and possibility have put before us, but to do so with more buy-in, if you will, more transparency, and with more possibility of building lasting change that the whole assembly can then agree upon.
On the motion to amend, substituting commission to committee, microphone number 1.
Thank you, Moderator. Joseph Whiteside, Presbyterian of Westminster. I would oppose the amendment. I believe in reading the report, it is clear we have to have action taken, and a special commission, is the best way to move forward with that. I think, again, as I noted earlier, we have to have trust and confidence in ourselves, in the work that we have assigned to various committees and commissions, so that work can get done. That doesn't mean to say that the commission is going to do everything within the list of things before it. It may have some things that it does wish to seek more clarity on. That's perfectly within its domain to do so. And I think we should have confidence in them to do that should we establish a commission. So I think downgrading it to a committee prevents decisions getting made or unduly delays decisions getting made. And there is a need for urgency. There is a need to move forward. So I believe firmly that we should stick with special commission. Thank you, Moderator.
Microphone number 4.
Yeah, hi, Moderator. Shauna Stopp from the Presbyterian of Pickering. Again, I just wanted to affirm the work of this project and the need for it. And I just had a point of clarity around the parameters of what will happen in the 2 years. Is it more of a get busy and get research and get things in order and then report back at the 2027 General Assembly, or are specific things going to be implemented like right away? So I just wonder if someone could speak to that.
I defer to.
I can attempt to. Yes, it is the intention that things will start to happen as they do their work. Yes, we will still report back to the 2027 General Assembly, but hopefully reporting back with, this is what has happened and this is what is going well. Is that helpful?
Thank you, Sherry. And just in regards to the membership,
So
like,
we are focusing on just the substitution of commission and committee,
Okay.
not the details of necessarily the terms of reference, the full motion. We're just debating commission committee.
Thank you, moderator. Yeah. One final comment, and just in regards to the amended motion, I'd like to speak in favor of the motion with the addition of committee. Thank you.
Microphone number 4.
Yes, moderator Brenda Butler from Pictou Presbytery. I will speak against the motion to amend the amended motion. We are in a time within our denomination that we have to act. And to make this a committee is basically another word to refer it to next year's. So I strongly speak against this motion.
And we're still at microphone 4.
Paul Johnston from Lanark and Renfrew, and I would speak in favor of this amendment because I think that goes to a lot of the concerns that I was raising before. Not a complete solution, but half a loaf is better than none. But I think one of the things I would also like to lift up is something I had mentioned earlier and something also we saw in the discussion on Presbyterian sharing, is that there is a great disconnect between the grassroots and the national leadership of the church. We heard that again and again at the Clark's consultation last month, that there is a sense in which the grassroots don't really connect with where the national leadership is going, and the national leadership doesn't really have a good sense of where the grassroots is. And the solution to this is not consolidating everything up at a national level. That doesn't build trust. But a committee that is working on things, that is listening, that says we're going to write a report and we will submit it to you for your feedback, that builds trust. That builds an environment where people can feel like they are heard, where they are valued, and where their input is respected. And so I would expect that if we went to committee, that would get us a better process to get better decisions.
Microphone number 2.
Thank you, moderator. Matt Vazeri, Presbytery of Hamilton. I speak in favor of the motion for the reason that, and we do, I believe everyone in this room does trust the people that have been on the team, and they've asked for our trust, but I believe that by calling it a commission, that what part of the message coming through is that we do not trust the local presbyteries and the individual congregations to implement these changes. And change cannot happen at a local level unless we form this commission that has the power to enforce this change onto you. And so I support this motion because it is about mutual trust through committee instead of a one-way trust through commission. And I respect all of my fellow commissioners here, but every poor decision I've ever made out of my life has been through fear. And I believe that if we make this as a committee, we will make a decision through fear, and unfortunately by going with commission, this has teeth. This isn't an encouragement, this isn't a recommendation. We are giving teeth to a small group of people that will have the power to impose on the grassroots, which feeds the narrative in individual churches that we become a top-down denomination, which may be our biggest challenge, and not reacting out of fear. So I do speak in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Microphone number 1.
Thank you, moderator. Jeff Ross, Brampton. Many of us who are clergy and have gone to hospitals to visit parishioners, depending upon the severity of the illness or the situation with the person you are visiting, you can determine possibly the outcome of the patient, what that outcome might be. The less tubes needed, the less machines attached, the better. We, to use the metaphor that's already been used, are not at that stage. We are now at somewhere where we actually need a triage team to come in and make some decisions. With respect to the comments about lack of accountability or trickling down information. The reason why this is an amendment to an amended motion is we already amended it to add in collaboration with local synods, presbyteries, and congregations. We do need a triage team. Within our polity, a triage team is a commission. And it is not something that is to be feared, because many commissions have come back with very powerful, very important, and very essential things that we have adopted. I believe, based on the original amendment, as a commission, this team will do the work. And I'm not on it, so I'm not shilling for anything. But I'm just saying that is what I would vote. I'm against the amendment to the amendment.
Microphone number 3.
Philip Murray, Presbyterian of Westminster. I think I am going to vote against this, but I just want a question of clarity in terms of the difference between a commission and a committee. I know that was shared before. In the Presbyterian ecclesiology, the next General Assembly, would that commission not be accountable to the next General Assembly and have to report to and be accountable to the next General Assembly for any decisions they make?
So yes, a commission can report back to General Assembly, but generally it reports the actions it has taken on behalf of the Assembly. It does not come back with recommendations for action. It can, but generally a commission does the work, whereas a committee does the study, report, findings, and then propose recommendations for the General Assembly to consider. Is that sufficient?
Yeah, but I think the thing here is that this is a 2-year term proposing, right? So now 2 years to come back.
Yeah.
2027.
The difference here is that they can report back in even 2 years' time. Yeah. Yeah, they can report back next year, but they would have an obligation to report back in 2 years' time.
Could they make decisions to implement the programs that it envisions if it's a committee?
No.
No. So only if it's a commission can those programs, like the lay leadership teams, the regional resource centers, those can be implemented only if it is a commission.
Correct.
And that commission will have to report to the next General Assembly
or the second 2027 of the actions it has taken.
Okay, then I am definitely opposed to this.
So microphone number 2.
Shelley Chandler, Presbytery of Barrie. I speak in opposition to this motion. There comes a time when we move from prayer into action. If somebody is drowning in front of us, we don't say, hold on, I'm going to pray. We jump into action, we throw in a life preserver, we jump in right alongside them. If I hear what many have said, including the Reverend Dr. Patricia Dusher-Walls, there are congregations that say, we're drowning right now, and they need help and support now. So we need to move forward. So I speak against the motion.
Microphone number 4.
Sylvia Kennedy from Presbytery of the Northwest. I love my Presbyterian church, but I must say I find that we have a tendency to you're not the boss of me. And as much as I respect that and I respect the internal integrity that comes with, in our congregation of 30 plus people, we don't have an expert in human resources. We can't even get the streaming going all the time. We need support and we need movement. So I would speak against the motion and encourage the members of General Assembly to do the bridge work so that people do feel heard, do feel understood, so that we can move forward. We have a beautiful church. We need to run. Thank you.
Microphone number 4.
Hello, I'm Daniel Solomon Amazi from the Presbytery of West Toronto. So from what I've heard, I was going to ask for a clarification first, but from what I've heard, this committee is basically deciding to push this further to the next GA where we might or might not take action. But from our previous votes, what I understood was that we already decided that we need to take action right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to motion for an immediate vote because I believe that we have already talked about this and that so we don't sound like a broken record, we get right to the point. And Maeve from Waterloo, Wellington will be my second.
Right. So we have a motion to immediate vote that is now on the floor. It's been duly moved and seconded. I am assuming the Yars would like an advisory vote on this with the student representatives. So Yars and student representatives, all those in favor of taking an immediate vote, and those who are opposed. Commissioners, you have been advised. Commissioners, those in favor of an immediate vote, and those who are opposed. The motion to an immediate vote is adopted. So now we have the motion to amend that is before you. Yars and student representatives, those who are in favor of the motion to amend from commission to committee, those in favor? Yars and student representatives? Oh, sorry. And those opposed? Commissioners, you have been advised. Commissioners, those in favor of the motion to amend, and those who are opposed. The motion to amend is defeated. So the amended motion is now before you. Microphone number 3.
Moderator, heard from the Presbytery of Ottawa, guardedly and with care, I believe that the Assembly has discerned the need to appoint a special commission. I support the motion. In speaking to that motion, though, I would urge that the commission give careful consideration to the need, which is not entirely reflected in the narrative, that rural, small congregations are points of light in their respective neighborhoods and need to be encouraged from their context to minister rather than be, as a first choice, amalgamated elsewhere. That's the only comment I leave you, having heard from a number of people in the last couple of weeks about the need for lifting up small, rural, effective, vibrant, faithful ministries.
We've had lots of discussion through the various motions and amendments and things like that. I think we get a sense of the pulse of where the Assembly is at this point. And so I'm going to move to asking the question, and hopefully the Assembly is in agreement with that. So I'm going to move to the question, and we'll start with the Yars and student representatives. Those in favor of the amended motion, and those who are opposed. Commissioners, you have been advised. Commissioners, those who are in favor of the amended motion, number 1, and those who are opposed. The amended motion is adopted. Number 2. Okay, but we'll deal with that after. Did you read after number 2?
Which is right now.
Yeah. So we've yet to do number 2.
I think it's before number 2. 'Cause number 2 basically is that's part of what they'll do.
Correct. Okay.
Since we
So we'll do the additional motion? Okay.
So there is an additional motion to bring forward the names for the change leadership team. I can let you know that there was a group of probably 80-plus names that were looked at. We first looked at the skills matrix that was defined, our terms of reference, and looked at who would bring skills to this team. We tried to ensure that there was diversity and equity across all lines, and we looked at lay people. We focused on them first because quite a lot of our lay people have gifts that our ministers do not. But we put before you the list of names, where they are serving, and the gifts that they bring to this work. So the motion is somewhere. So we'll give you a few minutes to read through that. Or not. No, you can't. You're not speed reading, you people?
I'm just trying to shrink it onto one page.
Okay, we're going to try and shrink it onto one page here. Just give us a second.
This will take a few minutes, right? No, man, but even to read it. Even to read it.
You have the information there before you. Just while you're reading, if anybody's counting, you'll see that there are 9 names up there. We're still in conversation with one more elder to add to this group.
Okay. Microphone number 2.
Moderator Andy Cornell, Essex, Kent. I'd like to register my dissent with the previous motion.
Microphone number 4.
Moderator Paul Johnson from Lanark and Renfrew. I may be persuaded to withdraw it later, but at this time I need to register my dissent from that vote.
Microphone number 2.
Susan Smith from Pictou Presbytery, and I'm just looking at the names.
Just hang on a second, Susan. Is there any further dissents? Okay, so microphone number 4. That's all right.
Jerry Glant, Presbyterian of Lanark, Renfrew, and as my brother, I might withdraw later, but right now I need to register my dissent.
Thank you. And my apologies for not catching. I thought you were at the mic for this part.
Sorry.
Microphone 2.
I don't see anybody from the east on that list.
We asked several on the list, but Colin Conrad, yes.
Okay, thanks.
You got to represent the East. So have you had a chance to review the list? Okay. So the additional motion that is moved and seconded before you. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor? Contrary minded? That is adopted.
Thank you, moderator. So now we are on to ASC 002. I'll wait till it's up there. Moved and seconded, moderator?
So recommendation number 2 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? That is adopted.
Recommendation ASC 003, moderator, moved and seconded.
Recommendation number 3 is before you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? That is adopted.
Recommendation ASC 004, moderator. If I could speak to that just briefly.
Please.
There are a number of groups already doing some work around property. Trustee Board, PCBC, Commission on Assets, and Advisory Group on Redevelopment. And the idea is to bring this number of people all into the same room to collaborate, make sure all the issues, i.e. legal and financial, et cetera, are covered, and to come up with a framework for use of property within the Presbyterian Church in Canada. Did you want to speak to that anymore? Oh, okay.
So recommendation number 4 is before. It's been moved and seconded. No discussion. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Recommendation number 4 is adopted.
So just if you are reading the supplemental report, one of the last recommendations is to name the group that will be on that, and we will come back to that at the end of our report. Moderator, we are on to ASC 010.
Oh, right.
Pardon?
7 and 8.
Oh, I'm sorry, there were some that were pulled out. So we are on to recommendation 007, pardon me.
So recommendation number 7 is before you. Discussion. Microphone number 2.
Gary Marnock, Lindsay Presbytery. Mr. Moderator, the intention of this is preservation of records.
Excuse me, you just need to come closer to the mic so we can hear you. There we go.
Is that better now? Yes. The intention, I believe, is preservation of records. And there are 3 possible reasons why that might not work. And the first is changing technology. A company I worked for back in about 2008, discovered they were paying $180,000 a year US for storage of digitized records that could not be read. Nobody had any more 5.5-inch floppies or software that could read the records. There was a massive amount of material for which the originals no longer existed. The second reason is possible quality of conversion. The land office, and I'm referring to the Peterborough land office, but I think it was all of them, there was a fad for microfilming. They took all of their property records back to at least 1860 and microfilmed them, and then destroyed all the paper copies, saving a vast amount of room. The microfilms were, in some cases, backwards, upside down, folded, or blurred, and then even when they were good, frequent access caused them to be scratched and damaged, so that those records could not be recovered. And then the last reason is possible loss of material. I sent some chapel records out last summer for 1 month to be copied, and a portion of them did not come back, documents and photographs. A year later, they're still promised that they're going to come back. No sign of them yet. So if they don't come back, they're gone. They may come back. I don't know. Lost control of them. So that's why I think that it's a good thing the Dead Sea Scrolls weren't digitized, or the Magna Carta, the Doomsday Book. We have access to paper that's vastly old, and digitization or microfilming, modern technology moves on and is gone.
Thank you. Microphone number 4.
Okay. I'm Daniel from the Presbytery of West Toronto. I have submitted a motion, ASSC 035, and I was wondering when will be the time to present that motion.
Additional motion would be at the end of the report.
End of the report? Okay, thank you.
Microphone number 4.
Brenda Butler, Presbytery of Pictou. I speak in favor of this because as somebody whose ancestry, family history, marriages that occurred in a church in Myra, Cape Breton, Union Presbyterian, all the records had been held in the manse, and the manse went on fire. So all the records going back 200 years had been lost. So I speak in favor of this motion, and if congregations want to keep, or synods want to keep paper copies, so be it. But I speak in favor of this motion.
Microphone number 3.
Sue Senior, Presbytery of Waterloo, Wellington. I speak in favor of this motion and do so because of the fortuitous engagement that I had with the archive department through the 4-year committee work that we had done. I learned an incredible amount about working with professional archivists who use best practices, rigorous systems that are backed up, and we're fortunate to be in an age that our denomination is engaging at that extremely high level. And just speaking in favor. Thank you.
Microphone number 2.
Ann Torrey, Presbytery of Hamilton. I am just wondering if the entire Presbyterian Church of Canada would be using the same software or whatever, or is it up to the individual church how they store these digital copies, or are we all going to get on the same page and store them in the same way? That's my only question.
Did you want to answer that question? Did you want to answer that? So we'll invite the archivist to...
Moderator, I think we do have somebody who can answer our question. The person you're speaking to?
We're going to invite
Testing.
Nicole up.
Thank you, moderator. Not sure where you were.
She left.
Okay. Right now, we have everything that the archives, if you digitize through the archives, we keep everything on a server that is backed up, and everything is on the same server, and it is monitored. If you are digitizing yourself, you will have those records in ways that you can discuss with the archives for best practice. when we digitize for congregations or presbyteries, we provide them with a copy of their digital records. So they have a copy for their use and ease of access and their own backup, and then we keep one as well. And you'll also receive the originals of whatever you have digitized back. At the moment, we don't have a one system, for example, a one cloud that everyone is on. That would be great in the future if it's possible. It is a lot of planning, it's a lot of resources and coordination. So the idea is to start at a smaller level, and then hopefully one day it would all work out that we can reach a wider audience and all have a shared system.
Yes.
Is there a fee to my church? Yes.
Yes,
okay.
congregations are responsible for paying the fees associated with digitization.
Microphone number 1.
Jeff Ross, moderator from Brampton. This is a recommendation. I'm the past chair of the Committee on History, and this recommendation has come in on an annual basis. It is an encouragement to congregations to secure their records, which will provide you security against fire, which the Dead Sea Scrolls would not have survived. But I think the point is we are moving into a digital age. Nicole has indicated that the national office can, as it says, if you do it through them or you can consult with them, they will help you in doing this. It has been an annual thing on the Committee on History to also encourage this, but the recommendation seems to have fallen into this category rather than that category. So I speak in favor of the motion.
Microphone number 4.
Ian McKechnie, Presbytery of Lindsay, Peterborough. I look after the archives at 2 local churches in my home community, St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church and St. Paul's Anglican Church. And I engaged the advice of our municipal archivist, who said that one of the reasons we need to digitize is not just to guard against things like fire and other such disasters, but also to have display copies. Some of you will have archival cabinets at your churches, and it's sort of best practice to not have original records in there, but to have replicas that look like the real McCoy, but the real thing is kept safely away. So I'm speaking in favor of this for the reason of having digitized display copies to keep those records, those archival materials available to the public eye without risk of ruining or compromising the originals. Thank you.
Recommendation 7 is now before you. I'll call for the vote. Commissioners, those who are in favor, and those who are opposed. Recommendation 7 is adopted.
Apologies, moderator. So we are on to recommendation ASC 008, similarly.
Recommendation number 8 is before you. Number 2, microphone 2.
Moderator Warren Brown, Presbytery Brampton. I have submitted an amendment. I wonder if they could bring that up. There's nothing wrong with what this says. The point of the amendment is simply to offer that over time, sometimes it's hard for congregations to remember to do an external hard drive backup, and secondly, they don't always test the recovery of their backup. You have to test it to know that you've actually got a workable backup or that you can restore it. So one of the paths to that is to create a secure domain in either Google Workplace, Microsoft Teams, or a cloud services. A number of our congregations have already done that. The cost is either no cost or minimal. And not only does it automatically store the documents, but it allows you to work through the revision history of every document so you can tell any changes. You have to go through some setup of who can do what to the documents as you're creating them, who can change them, who can read them, who can comment them. But once you've done that, you can manage this, and it provides a very simple way of having your documents, these cloud services, back up across places automatically. So it means that now, digital is not the only answer. If you have really important paper documents, you should keep them as well. But when it's digital and accessible, you can get to them quickly and display them and that sort of thing. So the amendment is just to, you could create a domain and keep them that way.
So the motion to amend is now before you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the amendment? Those who are opposed? Motion to amend is adopted. We'll have now the amended motion. And the amended motion is now before you. So for the discussion, all those in favor? And those who are opposed? The amended motion number 8 is adopted.
Thank you, Moderator. We are on now to ASC 010, and this is with response to Overture number 2, 2024. It's found on page 5 of your summary report.
Recommendation number 10 is before you. Discussion. All those in favor? Those who are opposed? Recommendation number 10 is adopted.
Recommendation ASC 011. Is before you.
Recommendation number 11 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Recommendation number 11 is adopted.
We are on to recommendation ASC 012, and please note, this refers to the national framework which we have just voted on.
Recommendation number 12 has been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Recommendation number 12 is adopted.
We are now on to recommendation ASC 013, and this is in response to Overture number 4, 2024. It's found on page 5 of your summary report.
Recommendation 13 has been moved and seconded, and ERS would like an advisory vote on this. If there's any discussion? ERS and student representatives, those in favor of recommendation 13? And those who are opposed? Commissioners, you have been advised. Commissioners, recommendation 13, those in favor? Those who are opposed? Recommendation 13 is adopted.
Moderator, we are on to recommendation ASC 014. This is in response to Overture number 5, 2024.
Recommendation 14 is before you. Discussion? Commissioners, those who are in favor? Those who are opposed? Recommendation 14 is adopted.
These 4 recommendations all fall under the same overture, response to the same overture, so ASC 015.
Recommendation 15 has been duly moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Recommendation 15 is adopted.
Recommendation ASC 016, similarly in response to Overture 4.
Recommendation 16 has been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Recommendation 16 is adopted.
And the last recommendation in response to overturn number 4 is ASC 017.
Recommendation 17, moved and seconded. Discussion? Those in favor? Contrary-minded? Recommendation 17 is adopted.
Moderator, we are on to recommendation ASC 018. This is in response to overturn number 10, 2024.
Recommendation 18 is before. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Recommendation 18 is adopted.
Moderator, we are on to recommendation 020. Pardon me, 019? Yes, pardon me. These are, next few are in response to overtures number 11, 12, 13, and 14, 2024, forming a Hungarian diaspora presbytery. Moved and seconded.
Recommendation 19 is now on the floor. Discussion? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Recommendation 19 is adopted.
Recommendation ASC 020.
Recommendation 20 has been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Recommendation 20 is adopted.
Moderator, recommendation ASC 021, also in the same response.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Recommendation 21 is adopted.
And lastly, ASC 022.
It's before you, microphone number 3.
Moderator, I'm not sure, heard from Ottawa, whether there are any of our Hungarian ministers in the court, but as one of the presbyteries that forwarded one of those overtures on behalf of the Calvin congregation in Ottawa, I thank the Assembly Council for its work, and these recommendations, I hope they will prove a blessing to our Hungarian friends.
Recommendation 22 is before you. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Recommendation 22 is adopted.
Moderator, we are now on to overtures that have come in 2025. Overture number 1, 2025. The recommendation ASC 023 is before you.
Discussion? Yours would like an... Yep.
There's somebody stepping in.
Microphone number 3.
Brian Nielsen, Presbytery of New Brunswick. I'd like to speak in favor of this recommendation. Presently, I serve as an assessor elder with 2 departing congregations within the Presbytery of New Brunswick. One is about 96 hours away from its second vote to leave the denomination or withdraw from the denomination, and the other hasn't even had a congregational information package approved by the presbytery for circulation within the congregation, and consequently that process is projected to be drawn out for an extended period of time beyond the 8 months it has been thus far. So I would like the support of the Assembly that this process be completed ASAP and have that be the case for other presbyteries facing a similar situation across the country. Thank you.
Yours are indicating an advisory vote on this. Microphone number 4.
Yes, Brenda Butler, Presbytery of Pictou. I was on the committee that came up with the recommendations for the dissolution and voluntary withdrawal, and there was a lot of discussion on this, and we set a time frame. And I personally feel that we have given the time, and so I'd have to speak against this recommendation.
So YARs and student representatives, those who are in favor of recommendation 23, and those who are opposed. Commissioners, you have been advised. Commissioners, those in favor of the recommendation before you, and those who are opposed, recommendation 23 is adopted.
Moving on to recommendation ASC 024. This is in response to overture number 2, 2025. It is before you. Well, it'll be before you in just a second.
It's now before you.
Okay, thank you.
Recommendation 24 is now before you. Discussion. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Recommendation 24 is adopted.
On to ASC 25 in response to overture number 3, 2025.
Recommendation 25 is now before you. Discussion. All those in favor? Contrary minded? That is adopted.
On to ASC 026 in response to overture number 5, 2025.
Recommendation 26 is now before you. Discussion. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Recommendation 26 is adopted.
We are on to ASC 027 in response to overture number 6, 2025.
Recommendation 27 is before you. Discussion. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Recommendation 27 is adopted.
This is the notice of motion for you, Rich? Okay. So we are on to recommendation. Okay. 030. Regarding a funding request from the National Center for Healing and Reconciliation.
Microphone number 2.
Nicole Reed, Presbytery of Niagara. I have submitted an amendment to this recommendation. So my amendment is that we contribute $1 million instead of $500,000. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission is seeking funding for a permanent home for the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation. The budget for this building is $100 million, of which the Anglican, United, and Presbyterian churches were asked to consider supporting this building fund with a total of $5 million. So I wish to make this amendment, and the $1 million would represent 1% of the total budgeted cost of this building. And with the Presbyterian Church in Canada's fund balances adding up to over $151 million, a contribution of $1 million would amount to be 2/3 of 1% of these funds that the Presbyterian Church has.
And then I'm going to ask the principal clerk to clarify this particular motion with respect to financial implications.
Thank you, moderator. Just some of the context around the recommendation before I get to what it means for where it needs to be referred to, because it's a financial issue. So as the ecumenical officer for the Presbyterian Church in Canada, I meet regularly with partners, my counterparts in the United Church and the Anglican Church. And so the three of us were approached by the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation to seek funding for the NCTR Center to be built. So they have approached us as a collaborative group, and we have agreed to respond collaboratively rather than individually. So our response will be collaborative. I do know that in conversation with the general secretaries of the United Church and the Anglican Church, that the Anglican Church is committing to 500,000 and the United Church is committing to $1 million. So I just wanted to give you that perspective in terms of what the other denominations are doing. We won't report to the NCTR with any number other than the total number of all three denominations. But just for reference, I think the Assembly needs to know that. If the motion to amend passes, and if the motion passes, it has to be actually referred to the Assembly Council because it is a financial number, and then it will be added into the budget before it comes back for voting.
Thank you. Microphone number 4.
Thank you, Moderator John Wilson, Algoma North Bay. I need a little more clarification. I'm sure I'm very confused. But I live right across the road from the archives of the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation, established and built. It's a beautiful institution. Is this not related to that? And would there not be a location within that for this? Thank you, Moderator.
Yes.
Moderator, as you see in the actual body of the report, the NCTR is seeking to build a permanent structure for the NCTR within the lands gifted by the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg. So it is not the same structure or the same area, John, that I think that you are referring to. So the information is in the body of the report as stated.
So the motion to amend is now before you. Those who are in favor? And those who are opposed? The motion to amend is defeated. So we're back to the original motion, and the Yars would like an advisory vote. If there's any discussion on the original motion? Yars? Those in favor of recommendation 30? And those who are opposed? And commissioners, you have been advised. Commissioners, on recommendation 30, all in favor? And those who are opposed? Recommendation 30 is adopted.
We need to know that that has to be referred now to the Assembly Council.
And that will be referred back to the Assembly Council. Okay, sorry. We are on to minutes of appreciation. You will note that we have some very loved and beloved people who will be retiring, and so we have some minutes of appreciation for Kim Arnold, Don Muir, Terry Hamilton, and James Waddle, and I am going to invite the principal clerk to share those with you.
Moderator, with your permission, I'm pleased to share the following minutes of appreciation. The first one is for Kim Arnold, who retired at the end of last year as our archivist and records administrator. So please let me read the minute of appreciation. At the end of 2024, Kim Arnold retired from her position as archivist and records administrator after faithfully serving the Presbyterian Church in Canada for 44 years. The General Assembly and the Assembly Council gives thanks to God for the remarkable work and witness of Kim and her passion and dedication to the ministry of the archives of the Presbyterian Church in Canada. The Reverend Stephen Kendall, former principal clerk, noted that Kim has guided the archives with a deep conviction and a big heart. Bob Anger worked with Kim for 21 years in the archives and says about Kim, as you look back on your 44 years of service, you can be very proud of the many wonderful and impactful accomplishments that you achieved in that time, from building and growing the archives from its humble days in the basement of Knox College to successfully moving the entire collection to Soho Street and then again to Winford Drive, and perhaps most significantly, all your efforts and commitment in supporting the work of healing and reconciliation in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Kim has overseen the microfilming digitization of much material in the national church and has continued encouraging congregations and other groups within the church to care for their records. She has assisted in collecting many relevant records for preservation and making those records available to those interested. Kim truly leaves a legacy which will be a blessing for the denomination and all those interested in its history. Through all the years that Kim served in the archives, she did so with an ever-ready smile, a gentle and kind spirit, and a willingness to help all those who sought out the services of the archives. She was an integral member of the national staff, and her steadfast presence and many gifts will be fondly remembered and appreciated. The Presbyterian Church in Canada wishes Kim a happy and healthy retirement and thanks her for the friendship, fellowship, and faithfulness she has brought to the work of the archives for so many years. And the recommendation, which is already moved and seconded, is that the above minute of appreciation for Kim Arnold be adopted by the General Assembly in gratitude for the work and witness of Kim Arnold as the archivist and records administrator for many faithful years.
Recommendation 31 is before you. Discussion. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, recommendation 31 is adopted.
I haven't talked so much all assembly. Moderator, the second minute of appreciation is for the Reverend Donald G.A. Muir, Deputy Clerk of the General Assembly and Associate Secretary, General Assembly Office. I think you should stand.
Well, you saw the movie first.
Wait till you hear what I have to say about this guy. Moderator, the Reverend Don Muir will retire from his role as Deputy Clerk of the General Assembly at the end of September 2025. He will have served for over 22 years. Over 22 or 23 years as Deputy Clerk, and an additional 23 years in congregational ministry within the Presbyterian Church in Canada. A graduate of Knox College, Don began ordained ministry serving the three-point charge of Burke Falls, Sunridge, and Magnetawan, followed by calls to St. Andrews, New Liskeard, and St. James Stouffville, all in Ontario. Don was called to the role of Deputy Clerk in 2003, overlapping with the outgoing Deputy Clerk, Barbara McLean, for a brief time. During his years as Deputy Clerk, Don served alongside Barbara McLean and the Reverend Dr. Tony Plomp, both Deputy Clerks, and with the Reverend Stephen Kendall and the Reverend Victor Kim, Principal Clerks. In his role as Deputy Clerk, Don has brought a keen interest in the courts of the Church and the theological principles that apply to church governance for the furtherance of unity and peace in Christ Jesus. Over the years, Don has, among other things, presented many workshops with sessions and presbyteries, taught polity to students studying for ordained ministry through Knox College, hosted numerous first-time commissioner orientations at General Assemblies, and has been the primary facilitator for the biennial clerks consultation, where presbytery and synod clerks gather from across the country to meet with the clerks of assembly to discuss matters of interest and importance for the church. Don has been a trusted confidant of his colleagues in the General Assembly office, most especially for the principal clerks who have trusted his advice and wisdom and who have been blessed by his steadfast, calm, and detailed manner. As Deputy Clerk, Don has been responsible for drafting the minutes of the General Assembly and correlating the index at the back of the acts and proceedings every year. The Presbyterian Church in Canada owes much gratitude for Don's attention to detail and his faithfulness in making as sure as possible that the records of the Assembly are accurate and reflect fairly the work and witness of all those who participate each year. Beyond Don's gifts around polity, governance, and organization, it is his kindness, gentleness, and humility, and profound faith in God that will be remembered by all who have met Don in person, who have called him, who have emailed him to discuss an issue. Don's always been approachable, always welcoming, and has unfailingly treated those who have sought his advice as deputy clerk with respect. The Presbyterian Church in Canada will miss Don Muir's commitment and skill in the role of deputy clerk and wishes Don a happy and fulfilling retirement and gives thanks to God for the gift of Don Muir. Well done, faithful servant. Well done indeed. Moderator, the above minute of appreciation for the Reverend Donald G. Muir, I'm asking be adopted by the General Assembly in gratitude for Don's faithful ministry as Deputy Clerk of the General Assembly and Associate Secretary, General Assembly Office.
Recommendation 32 is now before you. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Recommendation 32 is adopted.
Being such an extrovert, Don, I know you loved every minute of it. Yes, that's not a giant check, by the way. Moderator, the next minute of appreciation is for Terry Lee Hamilton, Senior Administrator of the General Assembly Office. Some of you are thinking, I've never been to a General Assembly where Terry Lee hasn't been sitting in the front and doing everything that she does, but you'll have to get used to it now. Terry Lee Hamilton, Senior Administrator in the General Assembly Office, will retire from her position at the end of 2025 after serving in the role for over 35 years. During those years, Terry Lee has worked with 4 principal clerks, Earl Roberts, Tom Gemmell, Stephen Kendall, and Victor Kim, along with 4 deputy clerks, Basil Lowry, Barbara McLean, Tony Plump, and Donald Muir. She's also connected in various ways with countless clerks of presbyteries and synods. For the past 35 years, Terry Lee has been a bond of continuity and the connective tissue that has been invaluable to the work of the General Assembly Office. Terry Lee graduated from Ewart College in 1981 and served as diaconal minister for the congregations of Grace Calgary and Knox Milton. In 1990, she was appointed to her role as senior administrator. A main focus of Terry Lee's work has been the logistical and content planning and follow-up for the General Assembly and the Assembly Council, along with various committees of the church. It would be difficult to imagine our General Assemblies functioning the way they have without the tireless work of Terry Lee and the volunteers that she coordinates for every assembly. That work often goes unnoticed unless something goes wrong. And thankfully, due to the skill and dedication that Terry Lee has brought to her role, there have been very, very few such times. And if they have been, there have been few and far between. Among the many roles of the position of senior administrator, Terry Lee supported the meetings of the Administrative Council, which became the Assembly Council in 1991. She worked closely with the conveners of the Assembly Council and the clerks of Assembly to help plan, coordinate, and record the minutes of the Assembly Council meetings. Terry Lee is also the staff support person for the committee to advise the moderator, beginning with John Allen and finishing with the most recently elected moderator of the Assembly.
She has provided support for various committees over the years, including what was known as the Committee on Theological Education and the current committee to nominate standing committees. Her work in the General Assembly office included oversight and guidance for the administrative staff who provide faithful work and support for the office. Terry Lee has been a tenacious advocate for Christian education in the church and for the importance of educators at all levels of our denomination. She has been a listening ear to many clerks and a source of encouragement and counsel to her colleagues. Many friendships have been cultivated throughout the church during her time serving in the role of senior administrator, and those friendships will continue to be cherished as she prepares for retirement. It will be difficult to imagine a General Assembly without Terry Lee's presence, but we give thanks to God for the faithful work and witness she has brought to her role and to her commitment as a follower of Jesus Christ. Thanks be to God. Moderator, it is moved that the above minute of appreciation for Terry Lee Hamilton be adopted by the General Assembly in gratitude for Terry Lee's faithful work and witness as Senior Administrator in the General Assembly office.
Recommendation 33 has been moved and seconded, and we've got microphone number 3.
Moderator, I would support the recommendation with whole heart, but I would request one correction. Basil Lowry was never Deputy Clerk of the General Assembly, but Douglas Lowry was. I remember I was present at the time, and I remember Doug Lowry sitting at the front where our new deputy clerk is sitting, and I think we should correct that record, and I would move that the name Basil be removed and replaced with the name Douglas, and the spelling of Lowry be brought into accordance with the front page of last year's General Assembly. I don't have a seconder, but I suspect I can find one.
I think we can make that correction. Thanks, Terry Lee. If this were December, I'd say you're fired, but...
All right, recommendation 33. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Recommendation 33 is adopted.
Moderator, I just need to say, just so the Assembly recognizes this, that over the last little while, with the retirement of Stephen Kendall, the upcoming retirements of Don Muir and Terry Lee Hamilton, the General Assembly office is losing roughly 90 years of institutional memory and knowledge and experience and wisdom to be replaced by 3 and 0. Just letting you know. Don't expect things to be smooth. The last one, if James is here, James, would you like to come down? This is kind of a little strange because we're not really sure when we're saying goodbye to James. But we do know it's coming up, and we think this is the right time to do it before the chance comes up at next year's assembly. So,
James has been acting as our interim Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer. He has made a commitment to a 3-year term as if necessary. We're finishing the second term, and there is a search process underway for a new permanent CFO and Treasurer, and that is still ongoing, and there is a motion coming up in the Assembly Council report. But as a bit of a sort of a motion to make sure that we thank James at the appropriate time, let me read the minute of appreciation. James was appointed as interim CFO Treasurer of the Presbyterian Church in Canada in 2023, following the retirement of Oliver Eng. James came to the Presbyterian Church in Canada having just retired as Chief Internal Auditor of the TSX Group Limited after 20 years. James brought with him many gifts in the financial area and helped to transition the Support Services Department of the National Office into a new context, increases in automation, an in-depth exploration and updating of fund information and terms, which you will see in that financial information package. The challenges of a high turnover in staffing for various reasons have all marked James's time at the national office. In his time as CFO, James has sought to make the financial picture of the Presbyterian Church in Canada more accessible to those who may not have a strong knowledge of financial language or structures. James has also endeavored to clarify the purpose and accessibility of the funds that are managed by the Presbyterian Church in Canada, many of which have restrictions that do not allow easy access for new initiatives. James is also a faithful member and elder of a congregation in the Presbyterian Church in Canada and brings that commitment to the ministry of the Presbyterian Church in Canada. The Presbyterian Church in Canada extends its deep appreciation to James for his diligence, commitment, knowledge, and wishes him well as he embraces the next phase of his journey, which I'm told involves sailboats and a lot of open water around Scotland. Moderator, the recommendation that the above minute of appreciation for James Waddle be adopted by the General Assembly in gratitude for James's faithful work and witness as interim Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer for the Presbyterian Church in Canada.
Recommendation 34 is now before you. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Recommendation 34 is adopted.
Moderator, since we are now at the stated hour, I'll be back.
Thank you, Sherry. So I invite Laura Lee Campbell up to present our guest.
Moderator, General Secretary, Commissioners, and friends in Christ. It is my great honor to welcome a groundbreaking and deeply gifted leader on our global Presbyterian family, the Reverend Ji-Hung Oh, Stated Clerk of the General Assembly and the Executive Director of the Interim Unified Agency of the Presbyterian Church of the USA. Reverend O was elected to this historic role at their 226th General Assembly in 2024. becoming the first woman and the first Korean American to lead the Presbyterian Church of the USA in its more than 300-year history. She is only the second woman ever to serve in the denomination's highest ecclesial office. As stated clerk, Reverend O serves as the ecclesial and ecumenical head of communion, offering constitutional, spiritual, and strategic leadership to the PCUSA. And in addition to her role as executive director of the Interim Unified Agency, she is helping guide the denomination through a season of significant organizational transition, building bridges within the church and with global partners. Before this call, Reverend O led the Mid-Council Ministries and previously supported the national call process, equipping ministers, congregations, and councils with discernment tools and system supports. She is also known for her gifts of generative leadership, system theory, intercultural competency, and conflict transformation. Ordained in the presbytery of the tropical Florida, and having served in both pastoral and chaplaincy roles, she brings wisdom grounded in experience across many contexts. A lifelong learner, Reverend O holds degrees from MIT Florida International University and the Columbia Theological Seminary, and is fluent in both English and Korean. You can read her full biography in your General Assembly reports, or you're welcome to stop by the ecumenical and interfaith table to certainly review her impressive background. So please join me in warmly welcoming the Reverend Ji-Hung Oh.
Thank you. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking to hear one's bio read in a place where nobody knows you, because I feel like it's over-promising people for what you will then hear from me. Thank you for welcoming me to the space. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you, Principal Clerk, and the General Assembly Committee on Ecumenical and Interfaith Relations for this invitation. It has been such an honor and a privilege to be here for the 150th birthday of the Presbyterian Church in Canada, and so I am so glad to be able to celebrate with you. Congratulations, happy birthday. And it's also been really a joy to learn of the transnational Presbyterian connections that we have. There's been a lot of grace that I've received in hearing of God's word that is for all of us, no matter where we are. And I've also been really curious and interested in hearing how the Presbyterian Church in Canada is answering the call to be church in this time and place. Because that is a question that the PCUSA is also trying to answer now. What does it mean to be church in this particular time and place? So I'm going to start off with telling you a little bit about this latest information that's out for us, our 2024 statistics. The 2024 statistics of the PCUSA is based on 82% of our churches reporting, which represents 91% of our membership. The PCUSA is now a denomination of 166 presbyteries and 16 synods. We are a denomination of just over 1 million members, 1,045,848 people, which is down 48,885 from 2023. What that means for us is that if trends continue, then 2025 will be the year that we dip below 1 million members. We are also a denomination of 8,432 congregations and 440 new worshiping communities and new church developments. out of those congregations, about 70% have less than 100 members on their rolls. About 80% are less than 150 members, and 90% under 300. And when we think about the numbers on the rolls and worshiping numbers, at least in the US, which is that the worshiping number is about half of who's on the rolls, most of our Presbyterians in the PCUSA are in communities that are worshiping 100 or less. Within the denomination, we have 17,700 ministers, that's including all the retired ministers as well, 638 candidates, and last year we had 151 ordinations. Out of that number, ministers, candidates, and ordinations, the ordination number is the only thing that is up. The minister numbers are lower than the previous year. The candidate number is also lower than the previous year. The other number that is up is the number of commissioned ruling elders in our system, to 1,173 commissioned ruling elders. These are ruling elders, so in the PCUSA we use teaching elder and ruling elder language to talk about our parity. And so the ruling elders are those who have been commissioned to moderate a session, to do weddings, be able to do other sort of duties that actually need that sort of commissioning, not to preach, because you can be a ruling elder and still preach. But they are increasingly serving as important congregational leaders within the PCUSA for many of our congregations that are in places and spaces where they will not be able to have an installed minister. I think your equivalent is a settled minister, an installed minister full-time in their congregation anymore. And that number is an addition of 170 commissioned ruling elders from 2023. So a lot of our numbers, except for ordinations, are down in 2024 than they were in 2023. And when we look back to our reunion in 1983 that brought the Southern Church and the Northern Church together to form the PCUSA, we were at 3.5 million members at that point, and we will likely fall under 1 million. What that means is that a lot of our structures are still actually the structures for a 3.5 million member denomination. And what we're doing now and that what we have been doing in some of the years previous to this year, but what we're also continuing now is trying to restructure for a denomination that is 1 million in size or thereabouts. However, there are some places of hope. What we found in the statistics is that almost 3,000 more people asked to join the PCUSA than asked to transfer out. We really believe that that's part of PCUSA Presbyterians trying to be good neighbors in new ways. Instead of asking, who are my neighbors that I should serve, trying to be good neighbors, being faithful witnesses to Christ's love and justice in the world that has made people say, I would love to be a part of that Christian witness. And so the faith communities who are witnessing, renewing their witness, and renewing their ministry in their communities, we find are growing. We're also finding that adult baptisms are up continuously since 2021. And we have a net positive in baptisms both at confirmation and for adults in 2024. And what we're finding is that those who are staying within the PCUSA are staying with commitment and conviction, and giving in churches has increased year over year in 2024. So I threw a lot of numbers at you. But there are some places of learning and wondering based on some of this information, the statistics and other things that we're learning at this time. If almost half of all PCUSA members are in congregations of 300 or more members, it's likely that our presbyteries are feeling the effects of decline more than the average person in the pews. And we find that to be true. Our presbyteries are wondering how to support their work, how to resource better their congregations, how to continue to give per capita to the General Assembly agencies to do the work. But I've also wondered if part of what happens when the average person in the pews is attending a congregation of 300 or more, but so many of our churches are actually much smaller and perhaps feeling disconnected from the denomination, the presbytery, the places where discernment and decisions are happening, is whether the decisions and discernment at General Assembly feel off and things like Louisville keeps deciding this, but we don't believe that, or we don't agree with that, or you keep creating policies and asking us to do these things, but we're feeling really disconnected from the decisions of the General Assembly, happen because so many of the majority of our congregations are not feeling represented in the process and not feeling nurtured or encouraged or supported in their living out of their call to be in Christian witness and ministry. And so one of the things that we're thinking about is how to support some of the smaller congregations, the smallest congregations, and even some of those that we might call micro-congregations that are memberships of 25 or less, or 50 or less, who may have trouble meeting the requirements of our Book of Order, some of our policy requirements, to see how we might help their Christian witness so that they're not just doing administrative tasks and feeling overwhelmed by that. The other thing that we notice about our statistics is that 59% of our members are 56 or older, and 34% of our members are 71 or older. Now, there's a lot of wisdom in those numbers, and a lot of history and a lot of commitment to the PCUSA. And also, what that means is that as we continue to have an aging denomination, a lot of those generational commitments, awareness, knowledge, and what it means to be PCUSA Presbyterians will likely decrease over time. And this is reflected a little bit in a Pew Research on religious landscape that I'll talk about in a moment. But another wondering that I've had about this particular bit of statistic is when a significant portion of the most involved people in our denomination are in stages of life that focus on questions of legacy and life review. How does that impact our discernment and our decision making, and which direction we're viewing history? And a sort of secondary wondering to that is, how do we ensure that all stages of life and faith are represented in our discernment and decision-making spaces and bodies? So that question gets me to our General Assembly. We have General Assemblies every 2 years since the 216th General Assembly in 2004. And every General Assembly since 2018 has been different. But there are a few things that are consistent. So the first thing that's consistent is that our General Assemblies are every 2 years. It's also part of our rhythm that we have 3 days of very intense committee meetings and then 5 days of plenary for each General Assembly. In addition to the commissioners and advisory delegates who come to every General Assembly, we have about half as many people, or just as many people, who show up as overture advocates, presbytery and synod leaders and stated clerks and resource persons that make for a pretty fulsome group of people who come. Among our advisory delegates, we have always had young adult advisory delegates, theological student advisory delegates, and up until last year, ecumenical advisory delegates and missionary advisory delegates. One change that will happen in next year's assembly is that our ecumenical advisory delegates and missionary advisory delegates will be combined into partner advisory delegates. But here are some other differences that we've been navigating as we've been rethinking what it means for us to have more voices represented in our decision-making and discernment spaces. And for us to continue to think about what it means to be church in our time. 2018 was our last fully in-person assembly in St. Louis. But that was also where we actually had the Hands and Feet initiative that was started by my predecessor, Reverend Dr. J. Herbert Nelson, who believed that we should not just show up in General Assembly cities and spend money and think that we have made a difference in those communities, that we ought to be doing something impactful and meaningful in terms of Christian witness. And so in St. Louis, we launched the Hands and Feet initiative and engaged in local action around cash bail reform. And Presbyterians gave to a bail fund that was then used to allow a lot of people to come out of jails because they could not pay the bail money in order to keep a job, to attend to their families, to wait for trial dates, and which was, in the US, one of the ways in which economic inequalities and oppression of people of color in particular was continuing to be perpetuated. So since then, we have not been able to repeat a Hands and Feet initiative in other assemblies because of the format, but in Milwaukee next year, we hope that we will be able to do another local action and sort of a witness time for assembly commissioners and advisory delegates and all other participants. 2020, as you might imagine, was a time where we could not have in-person assembly. So between March and June, we converted to a fully online assembly, did abbreviated business because it was required by our Constitution not to skip a General Assembly, and referred most of the business to 2022. So we met fully online, and it was not great. 2022, still in the middle of the pandemic, so we spread out our committee meetings over 2 weeks. We had 16 committees that we divided into 4 different groups that met for 2.5 days each. We switched over and we continued to do all the committee work that way so that no committees overlapped with anybody else in mealtime. We also went to single rooms for the first time, which increased our General Assembly budget by a lot. And other observers were discouraged from coming. And there was a lot of deep sadness that people experienced around that change in General Assembly format. And it was exhausting for General Assembly staff. And we vowed we would never do a 3-week assembly ever again. 2024, last year, we did online assemblies. So in 22, we did in-person committees and then online plenary. In 2024, we switched that format to go to online committees and in-person plenary because we heard from people that they wanted to be together, all in the same place, worshiping together, being able to eat together, and to experience what it means to be part of a denomination more broadly. And so we did that. But because we retained the online participation portion in committees, we believe that's one of the reasons why we saw an increase in participation of younger commissioners for the first time. We did an overhaul of our standing rules, including changes to how we do moderator election, which we will put in place for next assembly. But people still felt like something was missing. We had gotten rid of the exhibit hall, and folks missed being able to mill around and have those off-time connections and to get more resourcing. people felt like there was a missing piece about how we actually do the community building and relationship building pieces together. And so in 2026, we will add a community day, and we will also have a person who helps us with data collection to help inform future General Assemblies. To say, was it really because of the online assemblies that we saw a lot more younger people, or was it just a blip in 2024? And as of now, the 2028 Assembly, and there's a Deputy State Clerk Carrie Rice, who has been with you before, is really excited about the 2028 Assembly being GA228. That is the only time where the numbers will align. He is very, very excited about this. But the current proposal will be that it will be the same format as 24 and 26. We will have online committees and in-person plenary. But PCUSA Presbyterians love to bring overtures of varying kinds, and so we already know that there will be an overture for all in-person assemblies to return starting in 2028, and so we will consider that in 2026, and so this might change next year. Based on our statistics from last year, in 2026, we will have up to 510 commissioners. It seems like a lot, but the question still remains, who is still missing from our General Assembly spaces? What are the issues that we need to address in terms of process and accessibility and representation, all the things that our General Assembly Committee on Representation attends to? How can we continue to live into our creedal aspiration of listening to voices long silenced? How can we continue to think about generational transfer of leadership and other resources and decision-making authority? And how do we live into our full communion commitments that we've made with PCUSA partners for sharing and decision-making with one another? We've written that into our full communion partnerships, but we still don't know that we haven't figured out how to do that. And the other question, how do we ensure all commissioners and advisory delegates have information they need to make well-informed and well-discerned decisions, especially in light of decreasing knowledge about denomination and what it means to be Presbyterian? And that's where we come to some of the focus of the work that we're trying to do in this time. We're really trying to focus on identity and ecclesial formation issues. What we are hearing from the Pew Religious Landscape Study for 23 and 24 is that even though religious affiliation decline may have leveled off in the US, there is less stickiness to those religious affiliations, and there is less of a shared framework for understanding the stories of our faith, for understanding how we make decisions in a particular framework together. And more people are saying, even those who have religious affiliation, that in moral and ethical decision-making, logic and reasoning is more important than a moral ethical framework suggested by our religious tradition. Our publishing corporation is already thinking about what that means for curriculum development. That we can't assume that people know the stories of the Bible. We can't assume that people know what it means to be Presbyterian or Reformed. And so what does it mean for us to continue to think about ecclesial formation and identity? We've also been, I think similar to some of the things that you all have been hearing, have a history of seeing pastors as CEO and disinvesting in leadership of ruling elders and deacons. So what does it mean for us to continue to invest in the vocation of discipleship for all the baptized and their discernment to leadership and from baptism to completion of baptism? We're also continuing to think about what it means to be PCUSA Presbyterians, Christian, Reformed, Presbyterian, and PCUSA. We are not just an NGO, we are a church, and so how do we make our statements in a way that a church makes statements and reclaim our religious voice and witness that has been ceded too far to the far right and the Christian nationalist voices in the US. Our theology and our polity matters, especially in the face of rising authoritarianism and populism. And so, what are those practices? How do we continue to undergird them with good values? What values need to be reconsidered? And then our policies matter. And some of the policies that we're trying to bring forward at this time are wholeness and peacemaking. Presbyterians do mission and partnership, evangelism, discipleship, and really important for our time and in the context of the US, God alone is Lord of our conscience. One of the things that I did as the state clerk of the General Assembly was to join as a plaintiff a religious liberty lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security for their rescission of the sensitive locations memo that says that ICE enforcement can happen in sacred spaces. We have not actually been a plaintiff to a legal case since the 90s, but this moment felt like it was important for us to join because of the situation in the US. We are able to do that because we have a policy that says God alone is Lord of the conscience. We have relied on that to actually reply to congressional questioning about our socially responsible investing practices and our mission responsibility through investment committee and its work, and the ways in which then our foundation and our Board of Pensions invests our funds. We've used this, again, to join this the lawsuit about the sensitive locations rescission memo. We will continue to look for places where we can join other lawsuits so that we can continue challenging the administration's executive orders and other policies as we continue to reclaim that voice of the church. We are in a time where the church's influence has decreased and our voice is actually not as effective or as sought after as in times past. But we continue to ask that question. What is the new future to which God is calling us? And I hear the parallels in your discernment. What are the places of possibility? And instead of asking ourselves, how will we survive our shrinking resources and our numbers and our dollars and our aging denomination and the burnout that everybody is facing, to instead ask, what are our new possibilities for who we are now and what the world needs now, and where God is already at work and calling us. And I'm grateful to be in partnership with the Presbyterian Church in Canada and look forward to ways that we might be able to share ministry in the future. Thank you.
I was just going to say thank you very much for sharing with us today, and particularly seeing those parallels as we are facing the challenges of being in the church today and looking for those opportunities for hope and possibility. And certainly that challenge of claiming our identity within the context that we're in. And thank you for demonstrating that today and sharing that with us. And wonderful to have you with us at our 150th. Thank you. Do we return to that later? Do we return to the finance stuff later? Where's Jeremy? The church doctrine. Everyone, if you want to just do a bit of a 2-minute stretch. I think my eyes have been open for the whole Sederunt, I guarantee, but I may have had a nap between 3:30 and 3:45. So if you need to stretch your legs a bit, and we're just going to consult to see if we can move on to the Church Doctrine Committee.
Church doctrine for the next 15 minutes.
Yes, and then no. So, commissioners, that was not a break or an adjournment. That was just to stand up and stretch and kind of wake up a little bit. We've had a long session, but we are going to return to the work before us. So if you could return to your seats so that we're able to receive the report from the Church Doctrine Committee. Commissioners, again, I would call us to order as we receive the Church Doctrine report.
You need a gavel.
I need. All right. You may proceed.
Moderator, thank you. My name is Jeremy Bellsmith. I am the convener of the Church Doctrine Committee for at least 24 more hours. I'm not a commissioner this year, however, and the mover of the report and the seconders are Daniel Martinez and Vincent Tam, both from the Presbytery of Vancouver Island. For the past 6 years, it has been my privilege to work with this group of thoughtful and committed people who do this work in order to assist the General Assembly in thinking theologically about the issues that come before it. As we do that, it's been our hope and prayer to equip Presbyterians with thoughtful, Christ-centered responses to the many issues that we face today. The work of the committee will continue under the guidance of Stephen Jackson, Presbytery of East Toronto, who has made the trip in from Toronto today, and so we welcome him, invite him to stand. Stephen is no stranger to the committee's work. This is his second bout with the group. He came back for more, sucker for punishment, perhaps. He has a keen mind. Of course, he's practicing law, and he's used to assisting those who are navigating complicated situations. Stephen, welcome to the role. Our report contains the promised liturgical preamble for the ordination vows. It also presents a proposed footnote for Living Faith 1.2 and an initial response to the questions around medical assistance and dying. Because of the nature of the recommendations, none are by consent, so moderator, with your permission, we'll move to recommendation number 1.
Recommendation number 1 has been moved and seconded, is now before you. Discussion.
If I may just speak to it, moderator?
You may.
Thank you. As the Assembly may recall, in 2017 and again in 2019, the Assembly received overtures asking that the preambles be rewritten in plain English, quote, unquote. This was to make the preambles more accessible to persons of various backgrounds, including those for whom English is a second language. In the years following those overtures, the working group was formed and developed various drafts, consulting many, including those in the intended audiences. In 2021, the GA sent that draft to the courts of the church for feedback, and the committee received some great responses, including praise for a liturgical version. After revising the preamble in light of this feedback, the committee sent the document to an editor for polishing, and then last year, at the 149th General Assembly, a preamble was endorsed by the Assembly, culminating 7 years of work and many voices having contributed. That Assembly also granted the committee permission for us to present a liturgical version to this year's Assembly. And I felt it appropriate, by way of gentle reminder, that there are a couple things to note. The first was that our task was limited by the overtures. We started with the original and well-loved preamble, and we looked to write something that echoed its ideas and its format. Of course, we couldn't include all of the theology of the PCC. You can imagine the vigorous discussions around the table as a bunch of theology nerds tried to do that. Since the liturgical version is based on the version that was adopted last year, it shares that same limitation. The overtures also led us to struggle with some of the familiar phrases. For example, Father, Son, Holy Spirit was retained in the version last year. We included pieces like this in the desire to stay connected to the original and due to the variety of opinions about what an alternative formula might look like. You'll note that the formula was removed from the liturgical version, however, the reference to God as Jesus' Father remains. The second reminder is that the liturgical version is not as fulsome as either the original or the version that was adopted last year. However, it's the opinion of this committee that that version captures the essential pieces of what we Presbyterians believe about ministry, while maintaining a structure that's more easily spoken by congregations in a worship setting. It's the committee's hope that this preamble would not replace the existing preambles, but that instead be placed alongside the existing ones, since they don't differ significantly in articulating what we believe about ministry. We hope that this will allow congregations and courts to select the preamble that best suits their context. So, Moderator, with recommendation 1, we offer the liturgical preamble.
Recommendation 1 has been moved and seconded. Microphone 3.
Moderator James Hurd from Presbyterian of Ottawa. I have one question about the second last line on page 1. Is there any particular reason why the pronoun our, O-U-R, is capitalized? And if that is not intended, I would suggest it should be changed. Our King.
I suspect it is a typo.
If that could be corrected, I would not oppose the recommendation.
The O has been shrunk. ERs, those, and student representatives, those in favor of recommendation 1, and those who are opposed. Commissioners, you have been advised. Commissioners, on recommendation 1, those in favor, and those opposed, recommendation 1 is adopted.
Thank you, Moderator. And coming from that, then, recommendation 2 is that this form our response to the overtures from the ones that are listed there.
Recommendation 2 is before you. YARS would like an advisory vote, so YARS and student representatives, all those in favor, and those who are opposed. Commissioners, you have been advised. Commissioners, recommendation 2 in favor, opposed. Recommendation 2 is adopted.
Thank you, Moderator. Now, recommendation 3, also moved by Martinez and Tam from Presbytery of Vancouver Island. Just by way of background, overture number 6 had been referred to the General Assembly in 2023, and it asked the Assembly to, quote, delete, replace, or amend the phrase in living faith concerning the church as the new Israel. We came to the Assembly last year on 2 issues. The first, does the church replace Israel's covenant with God? This is known as the issue of supersessionism, and we addressed this in brief last year. In short, we are not supersessionists. We do not believe the church has replaced Israel as the people of God. But instead, we understand that Christians are grafted into God's people, also called Israel. This qualification is an important one in today's climate, as we've discovered over these proceedings. We address this issue more completely through 2 documents: the statement of the Presbyterian Church in Canada on our relationship with the Jewish people in A&P 2011, page 43, and then a statement that was made the following year. The second issue that we raised last year was how we should handle then living faith, because it is a subordinate standard of the Presbyterian Church in Canada. So we sought the Assembly's wisdom and received direction to place a note in living faith, leaving the subordinate standard untouched, but allowing it to show that a clarified stance existed, while directing readers as a part of that note to the more complete statements that had been made earlier that decade, or rather last decade. So, as promised and as directed, we propose wording for a note to Living Faith 1.2, which calls the church the New Israel. And the proposed, if I may, moderator, read it. The wording reads, in 2011, the Presbyterian Church in Canada affirmed that the church does not replace Israel as the chosen people of God, but instead completes the people of God, fulfilling the promises made to Abraham in Genesis 12. For more information, please see the Statement of the Presbyterian Church in Canada on our relationship with the Jewish people, 2011, and One Covenant of Grace, 2010. Moderator, recommendation 3 is that this wording be adopted as a note for Living Faith 1.2.
Recommendation number 3 is now before you. Microphone 4.
Duncan Robertson, Presbytery of Montreal. I'm wondering if there is available already a translation in the other 2 official languages of our church, in Korean and in French, of this footnote.
Not that I'm aware of, no. This was being presented for the first time at this assembly.
May I ask a question? Is it the intent to provide that for presentation at the General Assembly next year?
My understanding of the process was that it comes to this assembly, it is approved here, and then the translation work is done. I wasn't aware that it needed to, in alternate languages, be approved as well.
Okay, it wouldn't need to be approved. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Recommendation number 3 is now before you. ERs and student representatives to provide an advisory vote. So for an advisory vote, all those in favor? And those who are opposed? Commissioners, you have an advised. Commissioners, on recommendation 3, those in favor? And those who are opposed? Recommendation 3 is adopted.
Thank you, moderator. And then recommendation 4 is that this form our response to BOV 001 from A&P 2023.
Recommendation 4 is now before you. Microphone 2.
But this was just regarding the last motion that was just carried. I ran to the mic. But I just wanted to say, rule me out of order if I'm out of order. I have the privilege of moderating the session of New St. James in London, which is where this overture originated. And I wanted to thank and commend the committee for its very thoughtful and very helpful work. I can tell you that my session will be very, very excited to hear the work that has been done in the broader church from the overture that originated in our church hall. So
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Your comments were fitting for this recommendation.
Clark London, I was so close.
If there's no other discussion regarding recommendation 4, microphone 1.
Jeff Ross from Brampton. I had the privilege of starting my ministry in the very room that Living Faith was drafted. It is a very special and very useful document. It puts into poetry our theology. My concern, and just it's a very practical one, this footnote, will stickers be sent out so we can stick it to our existing hard copies? Or is or is this going to just be in whatever future productions, publications of Living Faith? I'm just asking. It's a
no, through you, moderator.
It's a human question, but it is a question.
I can't speak because we wouldn't be doing the printing. I do know in conversations with Life and Mission that a new print is being planned, was put off until the assembly had made this. As to stickers, I would invite you to speak with Ian about that.
Microphone 2. We are getting to time, so.
Well, Presbytery of the Northwest, similar to the last comment, we have tens of thousands of these booklets out in our pews and used regularly, I think, in worship. And so I think it's important for this, what we've just approved, to be available for us and for the people who are reading it and learning from it. So however that can happen, I know it's probably not the committee, but I would encourage that some thought be given to that.
Thank you. So I'm going to move to the vote on this because we are at time. ERs are going to give an advisory vote with the student representatives. So for an advisory vote, ERs and student representatives on recommendation 4, those in favor? Those who are opposed? Commissioners, you have an advised. Commissioners on recommendation 4, all in favor? Those opposed? Recommendation 4 is adopted.
Thank you. And then the last piece of our report was an update on MAID. I'll invite you to read that. We were asked 2 years ago to put together a document on it. We've done a lot of good work and have tried to give you an update. We don't have that document, however, because we encountered a couple of significant areas that need a bit more clarification. One being that pastoral care looks differently depending on the context. Bedside in hospital as opposed to a family who has lost a loved one. And similarly, we noted that, where am I going here? Anyways, we noted that there were some issues that are in the report, and so we would like some more time to work on that.
So we are 2 minutes past time, and so we will not proceed if there's discussion. We don't have any recommendations.
We do not,
at this point. So it's more or less information on the progress. If you wish to ask clarifying questions, we will then come back to the church doctrine report at a later Sederunt. Okay?
Thanks,
so
moderator.
We'll come back to your report.
Sounds good. I'll see you again.
I invite Terry Lee up for announcements.
Moderator, the committee, to confer with the moderator, is asked to meet at the close of the Sederunt at the front table to my right. A reminder that tomorrow morning, well, it's not a reminder, it's the first time, the displays of the standing committees will come down tomorrow morning as we begin to end our time together as an assembly. So if you are interested in any of the resources that are there, I encourage you to look at them this evening, as well as if you want to do some last-minute shopping of PCC merchandise, now is the time to do that. Again, please look at the travel schedule, check the time that you are to leave, and it is vital that you are outside on the east side of Peter George to get the transportation back. And if you have any questions about your transportation, please see Marjorie in the assembly office. And tomorrow when we do leave, and again, we must be out of our rooms by 9 o'clock because the time for leaving will be the time when we are here in the Sederunt. If you do not have a vehicle, you can bring your luggage down to where the display area is located, and there will be volunteers from the Hamilton area who will be there to staff that. Also, the Hummingbird Ministries has been involved in preparing a documentary, and if you are interested in seeing the trailer that they are making with that, there is a sign-up sheet for it. And if you have any other questions, you may speak to Mary Fontaine, who is the minister of that particular ministry. Thank you.
I invite us to stand. The assembly is adjourned to meet again in the Peter George Learning Center, room 127 of McMaster University, Hamilton, Ontario, on Wednesday, the 4th day of June, 2025, at 7 in the evening. I invite us to pray together. O Spirit of God, you alight upon your people and you move among your people. You provide your church with gifts and with voice and perspectives as you gather us together to serve and to equip and edify your church. When you call us, O God, we often will say, yes, here I am, send me. But then you send us into the unknown. Like in the book of Acts, disciples were picked up and whisked away and dropped off in unfamiliar locations with unfamiliar people. Your disciples had visions and dreams by which they were compelled to then eat with those they deemed foreigners and outsiders. Our God, once again this day, your Spirit has moved among us as we've discerned the mind of Christ together. And as we move boldly forward to say, send us out, you have indeed sent us out into the unknown. But we know that your Spirit continues to go with us, to guide us, to lead us, and to equip us for this important work that is before us. We give thanks for the gifts that you have provided many of your servants within the church. We give thanks for Kim Arnold, for her service in the archives, her commitment to preserving the history and records of our churches. We give thanks for the pastoral guidance that Don Muir has provided many of us through many challenges that we have faced, not so much as just a polity problem, but very much a deep pastoral challenge. We give thanks for the many years of service that Terry Lee has provided. She is so often the face of General Assembly, the one we call and seek and ask for help, to show us the hospitality and to welcome us as commissioners at any assembly. We give thanks for James Waddle's very careful and diligent service as our CFO. We give thanks for the guidance he has provided the church. We give thanks for our many siblings in many churches throughout the world, and particularly we pause to give thanks for our siblings in Christ who are part of the PC USA. As we share many things in common, may we, through our partnership and relationship, be a source of strength and encouragement for one another in the challenges and future that we face. And now, as we depart from this time to return later this evening, we pray refresh us, fuel us, and prepare us again to discern your will that will be in the business that will be before us. And may mercy, peace, and love be yours in abundance, the people of God. And now to the one who is able to keep you from falling and to make you stand without blemish in the presence of God's glory with rejoicing, to the one God and Savior through Jesus Christ our Lord, be glory, majesty, power, and authority before all time and now and forever. Amen.